Hey guys, welcome back to Puff It Louder, and welcome back to Akase's Route in Charade Maniacs. I don't know what to say. We were just crying the last episode. We got to watch one of our friends basically die. Nobody that we have a sprite for, but it's still sad. So I guess let's just see if we continue to cry. Woohoo. Yay. After crying so much, my eyes were swollen. I felt better after wiping my tears away, and I wouldn't have to think about it if I went to bed. I don't think I can fall asleep. Yuki's voice played back in my mind. I can't do anything alone. I can't. When people face despair, they can change so much. The Yuki in my memories was replaced by that sight. Honestly, that's like really traumatizing. I would be so horrified. Like, I don't think I could sleep either. That's fucked up. No, don't. I have to remember. The last time I hung out with Yuki, I shouldn't forget that smile of hers, but I shouldn't forget about the Yuki who tried to fight against the Otherworld stream till the end. That was the least I could do as her friend. It felt so painful and so sad that tears started to fall again. I should get something to drink. I can't get my thoughts together at all right now. Yeah, they kind of just like dumped her in the room by herself too. They were like, oh, let me show you this really traumatizing thing. And then I'm just gonna be like, oh, well, let me walk you back to your room so you can cry by yourself. Like, I don't know. I definitely don't agree with that approach. Right when I entered the kitchen, I heard a voice.
そんな大胆な行動に出るなんて正直俺は予測してなかったです。それに
The tone was serious, so I froze in my tracks. One of them held up a hand to stop the conversation. Then both of them looked at me.
いや、瀬名君、夜遅くに珍しいね。
Interesting that it's Yoshi that they're having like such a serious discussion with. Like, I thought that Akase was closer with Dazai and them, but I was thinking of getting something to drink. It was obvious that I'd interrupted something between them. But I wonder what they were talking about in such a serious tone. Although I had my suspicions, I drank a little water before leaving the kitchen.
おやすみ。また明日。
Yes, good night. That's weird. Could it be they were talking about something I shouldn't listen in on? But I couldn't make out their words. I headed back to my room and I heard footsteps following me.
瀬名
Akase. I thought he would reproach me listening to his conversation with Yoshi, but it wasn't that.
眠れないのかずっと起きてたのか
Yes. Akase looked at my face worriedly as he took another step closer. I was just doing some thinking.
ごめんな
Huh? There's nothing you need to apologize for.
いや俺が悪いあの動画太宰はお前に見せないように俺だけを呼んで見せようとしてたんだけど俺が見ることをお前に勧めただから俺が悪い
I'm kind of surprised that they're treating her like a child almost. Like, yeah, it's a horrible thing to watch, but like at the same time, you don't have to hide things from me. Like, you could have easily just said like, oh, we're going to be watching this video, but I don't recommend you watch it because it's like traumatizing and triggering and stuff like that. But instead he's just like, oh, I shouldn't have said that you should watch it because like clearly it's all my fault. Like, no, she made the decision to watch it. Okay, Akase, you're fine. That's not true. Yeah, exactly. That's not true. I chose to watch it myself.
そうだったとしても俺の聞き方一つでお前の気持ちだって変わってたかもしれないあの後また一人で泣いてるかもって思いもしなかった俺も悪い
That's another thing. You know, I just gotta say, like, Dazai shows a lot more compassion towards her in, like, those types of, like, silent ways than, like, Akase does. Like, Akase is definitely the type where he's like, let's just go in and do it, and maybe, like, if we go with the idea that he's like a police investigator or something, like, or like one of those interrogation folks in like the police department, if we go based off of that, then maybe he was like, it's not traumatizing at all. Like, this is just like work, you know? Like, maybe he saw it in a different light and then realized afterwards, like, oh shoot, she's crying. This is not normally, like, the reaction that people have or something. Like, it's either that or, like, Dazai... I think that Dazai definitely has, like, a younger sibling or something because of the way that he reacted when Akase did that weird, like, sleeping thing. Remember when he, like, came up and, like, hugged the MC and dragged her into bed and stuff? The way that Dazai reacted there, and the way that Dazai has, like, done these small things where he, like, protects the MC from seeing certain stuff. Like, Dazai had moved his finger ever so, like, imperceptibly to stop the video before things got worse because he saw that the MC was not reacting well and he's like, we should stop. Like, but he didn't even have to say anything. So, I don't know. I really like Dazai. I think that he's really cool. I think that that was really nice of him. I think that comparing him to Akase isn't necessarily fair either, because if Dazai is used to dealing with, like, younger siblings or, like, I don't know, he has that type of, like, sense, then it's different than Akase, who is clearly a little more rough around the edges in that sense. So... The silence of the night fell in the hallway again. Because there wasn't a single sound, I could hear Akase's breath. Oh, gosh.
なんつって、お前をますます困らせて何やってんだって感じだな。そうだ、眠れないなら少し話さないか？
And at least he's offering to chat, you know? Chat?
内容は何でもいいよ。俺の話を聞くだけでもいい。眠くなるまで話がしたい。ダメか？
Akase implied that I was doing him a favor, but I could tell right away that it was for me. He cautiously glanced at my red eyes and looked away. Then, just until you get sleepy.
おう、多分眠気飛ぶけどな。
His cheerful expression was a lifesaver.
で、俺が思いっきりボール蹴ったらポストに当たって跳ね返ってそいつの顔面に直撃してさ。
What is this story? Akase's voice echoed in the room as he talked about fun memories. I giggled while listening to them.
それでいてしっかり点になったから俺すげえそいつに恨まれたんだよ。
His stories about soccer were ample. I didn't really know the rules of the sport, but his explanations were easy to understand. See, like, at first I thought he was a soccer player, but soccer players don't ask a ton of questions, do they? I don't know. You have so many memories of soccer. It's interesting just listening to you.
気づけばサッカーばっかになってたな。俺、中学の頃はサッカーバカだったからさ。
Oh, maybe... Maybe I've been wrong this whole time. Maybe he's not a police investigator. Maybe he's like a soccer player that's like super famous and he gets like interviewed all the time. So he's the one answering the questions instead of asking them. That's a possibility, right? I don't know. I think it's great you have something to delve into. Do you still play? Oh, here we go. We're gonna find out.
やってないな。
Nope, never mind.
サッカーは中学で終わり。そのはなんか夢中になってるものねえの？
Rip. My theories destroyed in an instant. All I can think of is handicrafts and making desserts.
料理とお菓子作りはできんの知ってるけど、手芸もできんの？すげえな。
Oh, but I'm not particularly good at it or anything. I just have some experience with it.
やってて楽しい？
I think I do. I get a sense of accomplishment when I build something and it comes out right.
じゃあ十分じゃん。俺、取れたボタンつけようとして自分の不器用さに絶望した。
I actually have a story about this. Okay, here we go. Puff story time. So once upon a time, back when Puff was younger, I went on a dating website, or a dating app, basically, because I was like, I've never really done this before. And I tried to go out on this date with this dude who... It was such a nightmare. First of all, we met at Panera. For those of you who don't have Panera around you, it's like this bread shop, basically. It's like a bakery, but it's like fast casual meals and stuff. So, I went to Panera with this guy. First of all, I thought that we were going to eat. Apparently not. I think he was already there beforehand and he had already eaten. So I was like, okay, well, if we're meeting at Panera, I'm not going to get nothing. I'm going to get a drink, right? So I was like, okay, well, just give me a second. I'm going to go get a smoothie. Got a smoothie, came back. He didn't get anything, which was already really weird. And then second of all, he was like dressed really informally. Like his hoodie had like holes in it and stuff, and this is integral to the story. I'm not like just roasting this dude, but he had holes in his hoodie and everything. First of all, when I sat down, like I'm demisexual, so like I don't really find like people's appearances like attractive. I need to know the person first before I find them like attractive or anything. But he wasn't like ugly or anything like that. Like I didn't think that he was outright like disgusting or anything. But as the conversation continued, it was genuinely one of the most awkward dates I've ever been on, because this guy was like, he was talking to me about all these video games, and he was kind of like, what's the word? Negging? I think that's like the new term for it, where like he was like, oh, like you don't know any games, blah 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 blah. And I'm sitting here like, okay, I mean, I didn't want to like be rude and say like, or get defensive, you know, but he gets to a point where he's asking me what my hobbies are, and I talk about baking a lot because I like to bake. And I mentioned that I also like to crochet, and like therefore I'm trying to learn how to sew. And he's like, oh, did you bring your sewing kit with you? And I'm like, huh? And he's like, because like you could sew my hoodie right now. And he was like starting to take his hoodie off. I'm like, no, I didn't bring anything with me. Like, what are you talking about? And so yeah, I mean, that date ended for a number of reasons. I ended up making this type of like excuse, like, oh, like my family's reaching out to me and I need to like head home, so thanks for coming out and stuff. He's like, oh, I'll walk you to your car. And I'm like, okay. So he walks me to my car, and he basically makes a joke about, I think it was like, who's happier to see you? If you lock your wife in the trunk for an hour, or if you lock your dog in the trunk for an hour. And at that point, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And so I basically was like, I don't know, ha ha ha. And he's like, oh, well, it's obviously the dog. Your wife's gonna be pissed. And I'm like, you better not lock me in the trunk of any car. And he was like, oh, can I like have a hug goodbye? I don't know. It was just the most uncomfortable. Oh gosh. The reason why, I mean, I'm married now, so I can talk about this freely, but God, I hated dating apps, because I think it's really, really hard as somebody who's like demi to do it, I think. Just because, like, if you don't like sleep around much, and if you don't like feel initial attraction when you meet someone, and you need to like know what they're like before that happens, it's just like it's really hard for me. I'm really lucky to have met my partner at work and not like in that type of awkward environment. And he never threatened to throw me in the back of a truck. So there's a plus. But I thought of that story because he was talking about sewing clothes. I'm sorry that was so random. It was just a random rant. But yeah. Don't let people throw you in the back of a truck. That's the story. And if somebody fucking asks you on a date to sew their clothes for them, you better not. Like, I don't care how much you like that person. They gotta work for that shit. Like, I'm not fucking sewing your clothes for free. Gosh. Okay. Ahem. Despair. That's a bit of an exaggeration.
最終的にボタンはつかないのに糸だけはぐちゃぐちゃに絡まっててさ、マジでヤバすぎて写真撮っとこうかと思った。
I couldn't help but laugh aloud. Seeing that, Akase laughed in the same way, but suddenly he looked gloomy.
笑ってくれてよかった。それとも合わせてくれてんのかな。
Huh? I was surprised at the sudden change in topic, but Akase continued with a little pain in his voice.
いや、ただ励ますだけならこうやってできるだろうし、これまでもそうしてきたけど、結局何の解決もしてやれないなら、俺がいなくなった後、また悲しくなるんじゃねえかって。こうまで何もできねえって思うのは初めてだな。少しでも力になりたいのに。
He was talking about Yuki. He was being considerate so that I wouldn't have to be sad. Seeing that you think this way is enough for me.
俺は十分とは思えねえけど、これまで後回しにしてきたツケが 今回ってきたように思える。
What? Put off?
お世話になったある人に指摘されたことがある。俺の欠点は傲慢な卑屈だと。
Arrogant subservience is a very large word. Arrogant subservience. Those two words sound like opposites.
どっちも言われたことのない言葉だったからその場は笑い飛ばしたんだ。でもたまに振り返るとハッとする。
It's kind of crazy that they're talking about this because we were just talking about that too, where it's like the difference between him and Dazai is like night and day in the sense that like he is acting like, oh yeah, she should definitely see the video because this is someone that she knew. But Dazai meanwhile is like, she could see the video, like we shouldn't hide it from her, but the video contains content that would hurt her, kind of thing. Like it's just in Akase's mind, he's thinking of like trying to help her, but he doesn't think it all the way through, which makes it, I guess, you could put it as arrogant, because it's like, he's like, I want to help you, I'm going to help you, and then he helps her, but it still hurts her at the same time. That's, I think, arrogant is not the word I would use. I would say it's more like, not selfish, really. Maybe it's selfish, where it's like he wants to be helpful and that's what's driving it, versus actually seeing her and being like, I want to like be of assist. I don't know. It's difficult.
俺さ、昔から運動神経だけはいい方でサッカーも好きだったしスポーツ全般得意な方だったけど勉強はあんま得意じゃなかった。だから中学卒業してサッカーやめて別のことしようって思った時に気がついた。俺それ以外のことは全然ダメなんだ。誰かを動かす説得力もねえし人に誇れる知識も経験もない。だからそれをできる限り努力で埋めた。それでようやく人並みくらいかもしんねえけどまあみんなの前で話せるくらいには。
Just being athletic is plenty amazing to me. But even before that, he put in the effort to obtain something. I was reminded of a few things. I remembered how Akase clearly declared his way of thinking in front of everyone. He passionately tried to communicate with the Arcadians and to also gather information. None of those things were easy to do.
それが俺の卑屈だって言われた。
Huh. Is it really though? I think what you do is amazing.
あれもこれもできないと不安がって努力せずにいることが怖い。そういうのが卑屈かな。
I guess. Okay, I could see that, because it's like he's worried about not being able to do anything, and then like he's worried about regret. I totally understand this. Like I'm so afraid of like not taking action and then regretting it afterwards. So for me, I'm like, I always want to take action so that I don't regret that I didn't do anything, you know? Like, depending on the situation and stuff like that, like, I always try to do something, like, at least try to help out or something, because I don't want to sit by myself later on and be like, I could have helped, like, I could have done something to stop it. So I think that's what he means.
そしてそれを人にも求めるところが傲慢なんだと思う。
Oh. So he expects other people to feel the same way, where it's like, why are you not taking action? Like, we should be acting upon this, and if you don't, then that makes you, like, a bad person, maybe? I totally get that. That makes so much sense to me. But I don't even know if that's, like, necessarily what he means. I think that was kind of, like, my thought process when I was younger, I would say. He looked at me in an apologetic way.
セナ、俺はあの時友人の死を受け止めて乗り越えるべきだと思ったんだよ。
Yep. I thought that too.
そういう努力をすべきだと思ったし、もし俺ならできると思ったんだ。
Yep.
俺ならな。
Yo, Akase is just me when I was younger, I think. Like, I mean, he could be me now, I have no idea. I think that when I was younger, I used to think that everybody, like, would be able to overcome the, like, bad things in life just by working hard and putting in that effort, right? Which, like, that makes it sound really bad because it sounds, like, very general, but, like, let's say if something like bad happens, not like end of the world bad, like somebody died or anything, but like if something bad happens, like, oh, like you forgot to meet with somebody, or you like messed up and you need to like apologize to a friend for a fight, like for me, I'm like, I would put in that effort and then we would quickly get over it. But for other people, it's different. Like not everybody thinks the same way that I do, so for someone else, it might be much harder to get to that point where they can have a conversation calmly or etc., right? So oh gosh, this is too close to home, clearly. Oh my god, I'm sorry, I keep ranting, I'm gonna shut up. He sighed while placing his hand on his head, expressing regret as he continued.
俺は他人も同じようにできると、そうすべきだと思い込みすぎだ。それが俺の傲慢。
Akase was convinced that I could overcome my friend's death. But I couldn't, if being unable to accept that difference was arrogance. But Akase, here you are apologizing to me. You're worried about me. I'm always depending on you, like when you show your efforts and also do what is necessary. I don't think that you're subservient or arrogant.
Oh.
Did I say something wrong?
いや、ほんとごめん。俺心のどっかでお前ならそう言ってくれるんじゃねえかって思ってたかも。お前は俺の言葉を全部まっすぐ受け止めてくれるし、他人を責めるより自分を変える。何でもいい方に持っていこうとするポジティブさは俺に似てる気がしてて。だから今謝ろうと思いながらお前の優しさに甘えてたかも。って思うとすげえ恥ずかしいわ。
Huh? Really?
そうそう。もっとさーっと答えを見つけてお前を笑顔にしてやろうと思ったのにさ。
Akase he also worries about things like this. Of course, no one is immune to worries. I thought I'd already known that. This is the second time I've heard him complain. He's always so cheerful and acts like a leader, so seeing him complaining was a rare sight. He's always cheerful and acts like a leader, so seeing him complaining was a rare sight. That made him feel much closer to me. He made me smile again, so it's alright. By the time I realized it, Akase had cheered me back up again. I now know what Akase was thinking when he recommended that I watch that video. I also understand why he's regretting it so much. And it's still difficult for me to come to terms with that video. But I hope I can one day. Akase is showing me an example of how to do that here.
逆に励まされるとか。これじゃヒーローへの道はまだまだ遠いな。
Hero?
そう。俺ヒーローになるのが目標だから。
Wow, that makes a lot of sense.
だろ
Akase laughed, but I couldn't tell if he was joking. Maybe he was being serious.
昔公園でいじめっ子と対決したことがあってさ。何度も泣かされて怪我して帰ってきたから、こいつとは勝負つけないとって思って。で、町内一周して公園に早く戻ってきた方が勝ちって話だったのに、そいつズルしてショートカットして戻ってきたんだよ。
That's cheating.
の。でもそいつが戻ってくる頃には俺も公園についてたんだよな。そしたらそいつ切れちゃって。
How did he do that? I can only imagine.
結局殴り合いになって、それも俺が勝った。
Oh God. I can imagine that too.
で、それをあれ、誰だっけ？近所のやつだったかな。そいつにかっこいいヒーローみたいだってベタ褒めされてさ。
Huh.
ああ、それいいかも。みんなを守るヒーローになれれば一番自分らしいなって思ったんだよ。
Right. I do think that fits you, Akase. It really does. There was a time when I also thought being a hero would be nice. I imagined what it would be like.
お、 じゃあ一緒になろうぜ。みんなを守るヒーローにさ。セナなら大丈夫だな、絶対。
But protecting everyone sounds like a tall order. I don't think I can. I'm having enough trouble protecting myself.
じゃあセナには俺のことを守ってもらおうかな。それならできそうな気がしね。
Can I? Akase, you'd probably be able to take care of everything by yourself.
なことはねえよ。さっきもお前を励ますつもりで励まされたから。
Well, if it's just that, I'll do it any time. I'll do my best so that you can always smile.
お、俺も頑張るぜ。お前もみんなも無事に元の世界へ返してやるから。約束だ。元の世界に戻ったらまた会おうな。
Akase held out his pinky. A hasty promise. But to Akase, that must have been an important part of the process. Talking about a goal in the future he was working for would help him attain it. He declared that in front of everyone. Yes, I promise. I repeat that and I wrap my little finger around his, making me feel that the future's a little bit closer. That's kind of cute. And we're gonna stop right here before we go to bed. I don't know how to feel about Akase. Why is it that, like, every episode, it's either, like, I doubt him and I find him suspicious, or I'm like, you know what? He's, like, a good guy. He's a nice guy, and he's not suspicious at all. I don't know. I feel... I think that I relate to him a lot, and that's the reason why I'm like, oh, he's not bad. He can't be bad. But that's not true either, though, because, like, I'm sure if you put me in that type of situation, maybe I could be a bad person. I don't know. Oh, gosh. Next episode, I guess we'll find out. I mean, well, we're going to sleep, apparently. Woo!